It's happening in New York, New Jersey, or Long Island. Hear about it with Joe Piscopo. Mornings, 6 to 10 on AM 970. The Answer.
Portions of this show sponsored by Route 22 Toyota.
Hey, it's Piscopo in the morning. So it was true. I told you the story before, man. I was doing shows in Sands in Atlantic City. Elie and I've been talking now. We're like Jersey buddies now. And then Dominic comes in with his guitar. He had a vest. He was very well dressed. And he walks into this casino. And it was like this variety series I was doing, right? And he comes in with a guitar. Dominic Chianese does. Mm-hmm. And he just was so brilliant the whole evening. The songs by himself, stories. It was just great. It's great to watch.
Some people are touched by God.
Yeah. You know, like that's what I'm saying. Hey, how are you? Welcome, man.
Good,
thanks for coming in.
Really happy to be here.
No, we appreciate it. Jersey boy.
South Jersey.
Dad's from where?
Excuse me? My dad's from Passaic, New Jersey.
Excuse me.
Grew up on Spring Street, Passaic High School.
Excuse me. We love it, man. I love that.
Yep. I was telling you before, I remember visiting my grandma out there who probably like a lot of Jewish and Italian grandmas kept everything, right? Like your mom, my grandma.
Oh, yeah.
But the one thing she did not keep, my dad grew up in the 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
Where's his baseball cards, right?
Yeah.
He was telling me he had Mickey Mantle, he had Willie Mays. She keeps old schmatas, old cloths, old everything. No baseball cards. She threw them out. Why?
She threw them out?
Why do I need these?
You know what? You're right. I wish I had my Mickey Mantles. You know, give your dad my best, man.
I will. Thanks.
That's a good. He was born in Passaic General, you figure.
Yeah, I think so.
The old Passaic General Hospital. Elie is a former assistant U.S. attorney. This is a very, very bright man. We're having a nice conversation here. We appreciate you just kind of being cool about everything. He was a former assistant U.S. attorney in the Southern District of New York, one of the leading white-collar criminal defense attorneys in the nation, and executive director of the Rutgers, we love Rutgers, Institute for Secure Communities at the university, at Rutgers University. So, Rosenstein, you were on with Dana Perino. We were chatting before we were on the air. And as soon as you heard Rosenstein, he's going in and he's talking to the Times. Did he say he was going to invoke the 25th and get wiretapped? You have an interesting take on all of this.
What a strange story. And the story broke within an hour of going on Fox with Dana Perino.
Yeah.
And I should say I'm not really a Fox-leaning type person, but immediately something struck me as a little off about that story. I thought, okay, and I said this on air. I said, first of all, Rod Rosenstein is a career prosecutor. I believe he's the longest-serving U.S. attorney that the country's ever had. He's right down the middle. He's careful. He's gonna wire up against the president. I really, really question that. And later reporting came out where he denied it and others were saying, oh, it was sarcastic. And look, prosecutors are human beings. We make sarcastic. You go, what do you want me to do? Wire up against the president? It could have been that. It could have been nothing. And then the other piece of it is this 25th Amendment talk. And I told you before, so I'm not a great fan of the president, but this 25th Amendment talk is a waste of breath. Yeah. I mean, we're not going down that road. No, that's for an incapacitated president. You know when that was passed? In the aftermath of the Kennedy assassination, because the question was, what if you had a president, God forbid, was shot and was in a coma for 6 months or lost a big part of his functioning? That's what it's for. It's not for someone who maybe you think is erratic.
But this is the whole platform. Not to deviate, but it's the whole platform of the Democratic Party. I'm a former lifelong Dem. I'm so disappointed in the party. Help me out, Elie. Well, this is their whole platform. Is like they want the midterms. They want to take the House. I don't know that they'll get an impeachment through the Senate, but they want to impeach the president, and I still don't know what for.
Let me put one maybe on that.
Yeah,
though.
Please.
I do know, and I have met a couple Democratic politicians who understand that there's a cost to impeachment, right? So even if the House flips and the Democrats are in position to impeach, he won't be removed unless the Senate flips hard or something really damaging comes out. But I think the Dems even acknowledge, it was Hakeem Jeffries, who's a representative from the city here, was saying, I understand there's if we do go down the road of impeachment, there tends to be backlash. We saw it with Clinton in the 90s.
That's right.
Anyway,
that's a great analogy. I say it all the time because why they spent $50 million. I mean, Ken Starr was right here, but we chatted about that. do you really need to know all this?
Well,
And there's no price tag. And as a prosecutor, it just goes on and on and on,
Yeah, I mean, they say if you shoot at the king, you better not miss. Right?
Yeah,
I mean, so don't go down that road of impeachment unless you really got it.
Is the Deputy Attorney General generally selected by the Attorney General or the President
No, the
directly?
president. So Rod Rosenstein has a really interesting history. He became U.S. Attorney for Maryland under George W. Bush. He held over. Obama kept him in, right? So he's a Republican. He's a lifelong Republican.
Oh boy.
He came in under
Swampy.
Came in under Bush. Obama kept him, and then he was one of the few that survived. And then Donald Trump nominated Rod Rosenstein. Maybe he almost certainly regrets it now, but he nominated Rod Rosenstein, and it has to be approved by the Senate. And the U.S. Senate approved Rod Rosenstein, confirmed him 94-6.
Yeah.
Back in 2017. So this guy's got a lot of pedigree.
I look here. But you're very astute at what you do, man. You really are, and you're very accomplished at what you do. So when you come in, we're on our game. So Frankie sent me a question.
Oh no, you got background on me.
Well, he said, yeah. Did you ever joke about recording your boss Pre-Prahara?
Oh my gosh, What? I don't need to record him. He's recording all the time anyway.
I gotta blame Frank for that. You see how he instigates Alice? I'm telling you, man.
We joke about. Yeah, prosecutors joke about everything. I mean, I do look at that Rosenstein article and I think, boy, if every conversation that we had in the lunchroom or just hanging around or walking to get coffee was reported to the Times, that would be worrisome.
But isn't that sad? You have to watch everything now. You have to.
Yeah.
Somebody's recording it. You got to. If I'm with a gal, God forbid, you got to say, can I say this? If I say to a gal, and I will say, I don't want to be inappropriate. Can I say something? I have to put this big caveat out there. I almost want to take my iPhone out.
So when I started at the U.S. Attorney's Office in 2004, so 14 years ago, Dave Kelly was the U.S.
You were
Attorney.
2 years old. Look at you.
Just 29.
God bless you, man.
The Dave Kelly, who was the U.S. Attorney at the time, told me on day one, he said, you assume everything you say is recorded.
Really?
Yeah. And when I was at the New Jersey AG's office the last 5 years, I would say the same thing to my guys as I hired them. They're kids. They're 26, 27 years old. They're just out of law school or detectives. And you have to assume that every day now, I think. Everything you say is recorded. You got to be careful.
So whomever becomes the Deputy Attorney General, automatically, does that person have domain over the Mueller and Russia probe?
Yeah, unless there's a conflict. So people are trying to game out. What happens if Rosenstein gets fired or resigns?
Yeah.
And I do want to talk about that politically in a second. But so the succession would go to Noel Francisco, who is normally there would be an associate attorney general. There was a woman named Rachel Brand who was a lifer at DOJ. She left a few months ago on her own. No strange situation.
You know this like we would know sports team.
I know. It's sad, kind of.
It's not. It's very impressive.
It would go to this guy Noel Francisco, who's the Solicitor General of the United States. Now, there's a footnote here. He used to work at a law firm that has done Trump work, so he may have a conflict he's got to work through.
Boy, yeah.
But he's very different. In some ways, he's very different than Rosenstein. On the one hand, I don't know either of them, but Francisco is very well accomplished, brilliant guy by all accounts, but has never prosecuted a case in his life. So you're going from somebody who's one of the most distinguished prosecutors in the country to somebody who's brand new. He's also more partisan than Rosenstein. I mean, he's written articles, Francisco, about that the FBI should have come down harder on Hillary Clinton. But understand, everything Robert Mueller reports to one human being on the face of this earth, and that's Rod Rosenstein. And so any major decision that Mueller has made or will make goes through Rosenstein or whoever replaces him. And so now you're looking at what's ahead. Are we going to subpoena the president? Okay. That decision will land on the desk of either Rod Rosenstein or whoever replaces him. That's a huge decision.
Yeah, man.
Are we going to indict more people? Is there going to be an indictment against Don Jr., against Jared Kushner? I'm wildly speculating here, but it's been out there. Roger Stone, whoever may be in line to be indicted. That's got to go through this person as well. So this is a hugely consequential position.
You've been there. We know Roger comes on the show. Donald Jr., all the people that you mentioned. Even Michael Flynn, who's been on the show. Yeah. And Manafort's been on the show. I'm thinking, and Manafort, I know he did something with the offshore banking, but really, where's the Russia collusion? Don't as a former assistant U.S. prosecutor, don't you want to just go, assistant U.S. attorney, don't you want to just go, okay, show me something? Yeah. It just, to us, for those of us who see it go on and on and on, money being spent, it does look like a witch hunt.
So I don't think the book is closed yet on the Russia collusion question. And I think now that Manafort's in the fold with the government cooperating, we're going to know one way or another. And so no matter what, and I'm willing to say this and live by this, if the goods are there, then they're there, and if they're not, then we'll know that they're not, because we've now got all the inside guys. But let me also say this.
Yeah, please.
I still think it's important that we know that high-ranking people, Mike Flynn, Paul Manafort, Michael Cohen, not officially ranking anywhere, but if those people have been committing federal crimes and they've all admitted now that they have, I think we need to know that as well. I think that's important.
When does it end? When does Mueller go, look, I got nothing. I got nothing on the president. I got nothing. Does a prosecutor ever say that?
I don't know that I don't know that the conclusion is going to be I've got nothing. The conclusion might be he has something. But where does this end? Typically a case sort of culminates in an indictment, and then you have your trial and sentencing. I think we could be in a little bit of a different situation here because it's a sitting president. There's some legal debate out there about whether a sitting president can be indicted. But I think at a minimum, what we'll see from Mueller is a detailed report, similar to the Starr report. I mean, not in content, but in form, that lays out all of the findings, and then a referral. And this would have to go through Rod Rosenstein or his replacement as well, potentially a referral to the Congress.
Yeah, amazing. The $50 million for the Starr report. And Judge Starr sat exactly where you're sitting. And I said I didn't understand it. But then he turned and said it was more whitewater than anything else. Yeah. So is there something that Mueller knows in your legal mind? Is there something Mueller knows that he has not revealed yet?
There has to be. Look, people can say what they want about Robert Mueller. He has run a tight ship. There is no leaks.
Really?
He has run. Nothing has leaked out of there. Who's got the easiest job in the world? His press secretary. All he ever says is no comment. No comment. I mean, literally, they have never commented on anything. Mueller speaks through his official court filings, through his indictments. He speaks in court. And I think it's safe to say he knows a lot more than any of us know.
Mr. Honig, what about Kavanaugh? What's your feeling on all this? Where are we going to go with this? Your instinct?
Yeah, it's wild. I thought when I saw the second accuser come forward, I thought he was done. But they're digging in. They're fighting. I keep coming back to this as someone who's spent 14 years as a prosecutor. When you have one side that is begging for an investigation and the other side that really wants to avoid it, that tells you something. And I do read a lot into that. And I look at Kavanaugh, and he does the Fox News interview, which is, I think Frank said, I think he's right, is a first. I don't know of any, pending justice or sitting justice doing an interview. But what's the fear of a full FBI investigation? They did it back in '91 with Anita Hill.
But he went through 6 checks with the FBI already. Would he do one more?
New information. I mean, look. When I started here,
it doesn't seem bogus to you, though. And we got
no, it doesn't. It doesn't.
With Feinstein had it since July.
Feinstein, I think mishandled it. I think she should have turned it over to the FBI much quicker.
Yeah.
But so that I'll sign on to. But I got to tell you, based on what I've read about Dr. Ford's report, it rings true to me. It seems credible to me. Here's one thing that jumps out to me as a prosecutor. Why is she telling people 6 years ago, her therapist, her husband? What's the theory? She's makes this up in 2012 just in case, and then 6 years later the guy becomes much more prominent and she comes out with it. That's an important piece of corroboration to me. And so if it's true that she told multiple people 6 years ago, and listen, sex assault victims often don't come forward at the time. The president tweeted the other day, where was she in 1982? That's ridiculous. Sex assault survivors don't come forward for many reasons, especially in '82. It was a different culture back then, especially young.
Does the president fire Rosenstein? Going back to it,
I think he wants to avoid firing him. I think he's trying to do what he did with Jeff Sessions, which is let me berate, demean, and make this guy's job untenable to the point where he quits. And I'm too young for Watergate. I was born in '75, but I'm learning about it now. And one thing that I've learned, and you probably remember it better, Joe. But when the tide really turned, the public opinion tide really turned on Nixon, is when he sacked Archibald Cox. And I just heard the other day, and listened, there was a great podcast about it. His approval rating was already suffering, but it went in the tank when he fired.
And we always say that Watergate seems like child's play now compared to everything else. 7:39. Elie Honig is a former Assistant U.S. Attorney in the Southern District of New York, one of the leading white-collar criminal defense attorneys in the nation, Executive Director of the Rutgers Institute for Secure Communities at Rutgers University. Hey, you know what? We appreciate you joining us, man. So you can't make this up, man. Please come back.
It's fun. It's entertaining.
Let's stay in this. Thank you, Elie. Give your father my very, very best.
I sure will. Thanks.
Passaic General, baby. That's what I'm saying.
Everybody knows this guy. No, everybody knows he can do a radio show. Joe Piscopo. Mornings, 6 to 10 on AM 970. The Answer.